focus on Liberia. Welcome, and welcome to our broadcast here. Today is Saturday, and we are having FOL special. That is focus on Liberia special. And that is not just an ordinary special. This is a political Saturday special. Welcome to the broadcast. My name is Anthony. I am co-hosting with my partner Dennis Jai. In studio, we have Mr. Desmond Finlay, and we'll also have Mr. Wilman Kuni. Kuni is the Chief Political Analyst of Focus on Liberia, and Mr. Desmond Finlay is an affiliate analyst here at Focus on Liberia. Welcome to our broadcast. Hit that share button. Today is Saturday, a political Saturday, and we're going to talk politics. But this time around, we will be looking at the ANC and the CPP specifically. Dennis Jai, I am all set.
Thank you, Mr. Sonny Sia, and welcome to our viewers across the globe. In a special way, we want to welcome our Chief Political Analyst, Mr. Wilmot Weti Kuni. He's joining us from the city of brotherly love and sisterly affection. Mr. Kuni, we say welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you. Happy to be back.
We also want to welcome, joining us from Providence, Rhode Island, our affiliate analyst, who is slowly transitioning into a full-fledged analyst right here on Focus on Liberia, Mr. Desmond Tutu Finlay. Mr. Finlay, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
With time and essence, I'm very glad to be here tonight. And the full-fledged is coming within no time. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to welcome all our viewers from across the globe. We're going to be discussing fully into what took place in Nimba County during the CPP primary and the response from the Alternative National Congress / the CPP, that's the collaborating political parties. There have been a response or an official response from the ANC and CPP headquarters. We're going to be delving into that and look at it from the broader political landscape. Mr. Sunni, let's get this started. And our viewers, we say we're going to open the phone lines. We want all of you to be part of this discussion because Liberia belongs to all of us. We must be able to critique, we must be able to analyze, and we must be able to join the political discourse regardless of our own political persuasion and affiliation. Mr. Sia.
Mr. Jai, thank you. And folks, we can say thank you enough for always joining us here at Focus on Liberia. Whenever we come here, it is because you are taking interest in what we do. That's why we're here. Let's get started here quickly. The ANC and the CPP, through its chairman, Mr. Alexander Benedict Cummings, released statement each. And we are going into this statement, but we will start with the response from the ANC as a result of a primary that ended in what I want to classify as a fiasco. And so forth, we will be looking at the ANC response to the CPP primary in Nimba County. We want to know the contenders and the CPP framework. We will go into that, but we will talk about the primary process also. Mr. Jai, let's get started here quickly. How do we start?
All right. So we have the collaborating political parties that we know as the CPP. So the CPP, when 4 political parties got together and adopted a framework, say the sole purpose of us coming together, they have objective. One of it is to field a single legislative or presidential candidate in all elections. So as a testament to that, the CPP is going to field one candidate for the open seat in Nimba County, the senatorial seat. As a result, a primary was staged for that to take place in Sanikole, Nimba County. The contenders, Mrs. Edith Gonglo-Ware, former superintendent of Nimba County, and Mr. Ta and Edith Gonglo-Ware come from the Liberty Party, and Mr. Ta Wangwe from the ANC. Both LP and ANC are members of the CPP. It went in Nimba County. There was violence, clashes as a result. The ANC did not recognize the result. According to the people who conducted the primary, Edith Gonglo-Ware won and Tar Wongwit lost. Since then, there has been a big hullabaloo. There have been people calling for the ANC to even boycott the CPP arrangement. All that, we also wanted to hear from the leadership of the ANC as to what they want to do concerning this primary. And luckily, we got a statement, and I want us to start with that statement. But first, it is worthy to note that on the night of the primary, on the day of the primary, after it was announced, there were pictures on social media carrying people with even blood, with rocks were thrown. And so the ANC, in fact, the ANC candidate said that he escaped an assassination attempt. There were people from the ANC quarters calling for ANC to even field candidates in all 9 counties. They said the elections or the primary process was not credible. And they blamed the leader of the ALP, that's Benena Ure, for being responsible for the chaos. Fast forward, the ANC, through its chairman, Mr. Elisha Stowe, issued a statement. And I want for us to begin with that statement that was issued by Mr. Elisha Stowe, which stated the position of the ANC. Let me start with Mr. Finlay. Mr. Finlay, so far, that's my summary of what went on in Nimba and what is being. Your opening statement before we start, before I can read the statement. And Mr.
So
Finlay,
firstly, Mr. Job,
yes,
I want
sir.
to congratulate you on 22 years of marriage.
Thank you.
That's something that people take for granted. It takes a lot of coy. It takes a lot of submission. It takes a lot of conviction. It takes a lot of consideration or appreciation of another person. With that, I say to you, congratulations. Now, in that same token, I will extrapolate that what I just said to you. This is a marriage of 4 political parties. I expounded this idea. Am I on?
Yes,
Yeah.
go ahead.
I expounded this idea to the CPP about 3 years ago, the day after the election. The formation of the CPP is the essence of the problem. 1, if every party is in a combined unit, is in a unison to achieve a certain agenda, and every party is still an individual party, that doesn't consume a marriage. If I marry a person, we become one. That's the first mistake these people formulated together. That the first mistake they had. So therefore, in my opinion, and just my opinion, this formation should have been a unison party, regardless, under one banner. When Unity Party merged with Liberty, merged with LAP, it was Unity Party. It wasn't LAP. There was no existence of LAP. So this marriage, in a sense, the concession or the agreement that it came to begin was fraudulent. And it's not fraudulent in a sense, but it's not to the point where it's going to exist. Therefore, we have the problem that we have today. So my opening statement goes today to say that the basis of them joining together is wrong. It's not going to promote unison. So therefore, it's going to fall flat. So with that, I end my statement. Congratulations you, Mr. Job.
Thank you. I like that segue there about marriage. Mr. Cooney, your opening statement?
Well, I also want to follow my colleague footstep by congratulating you on your anniversary. But to the issue at hand, I think many times we've stated that
I need to get a charger, guys.
the opposition has a very critical role to play in our democracy. And so those of us who are democratic minded, we cherish the opposition. But besides cherishing the opposition, we also hold that it is the responsibility of the opposition not to only hold the government to account, but to also create an alternative for the electorate. the events in Nimba, prior to that, the coming together of the opposition under a collaborative arrangement, the activities that have flowed from that collaboration so far, I think leave much to be desired. And I think the Liberian people will have to make the decision. Is this the alternative that we are looking for? Is the opposition creating the kind of leadership alternative that the country needs? Is the conduct of the opposition significantly guarantee us a new future? Should they be trusted with leadership? The opposition was conceived out of a flawed arrangement. So everything that is following, it is not by accident. Apparently, the only thing that brought the opposition to power, together is to win power. There was no critical assessment as to whether ideologies align, as to whether other critical issues that bring people together align. I think the only thing that aligned was let's come together and remove the current government. With that arrangement, there will be a lot of situations that will reflect not only what happened in Nimba, but that will continue as long as the collaborating parties are together. We'll delve into some of those issues as the show proceed.
Thank you. Mr. C, before I go through the statement.
Okay. Mr. Jai, Mr. Kuni has a point there, but I was just wondering as he was speaking and ending with his statement that the main fact that, paraphrasing here, that these political parties came together for the sole purpose of trying to change the government was not enough reason to make them to whole. And I think what he's trying to say there is that in as much as the motivation was how do we move the current one, to occupy the government and be able to assume leadership and maybe land ourselves jobs, they will always have a fight. And Mr. Cooney has been very consistent on his message about issue-driven politics and not job-driven politics. I have continued to listen to him, and I think he has a point. Jobs should be secondary. It's like the child coming up today, your children going to school. You're not worrying about what job they will learn tomorrow. You are preparing them. So the same should be said about political parties. Don't worry about the job. Don't worry about the government. Prepare yourself for the government. And how do you prepare yourself? You prepare yourself on the issues. What are the issues that are affecting our people? How do we solve those problems? Those are the issues that should be the driving force. Unfortunately, in our country, Liberia, it is never about the issue. It's always about who learns the best job or who is qualified. So individuals. There where Mr. Cooney is right, and I think I agree with him to a greater extent.
Well, be careful. Be careful to what extent you agree with him. Because I think he has a point, but that's the name of the game in Liberia. That's how they play it. Because people that are on the ground playing the politics, that's what they do. They don't talk about the issues. The voters don't require them to talk about the issues. So they are moved. They go where the voters are. But that's another story that we can come to. But here's the thing. The elections or the primary election in Nimba County, Sanikole among CPP members. In the first place, before I even read the letter, and you guys can help me out here, I'm surprised that the CPP is even having primaries, right? Because from what we gather, the CPP has divided the counties among the political individual, the collaborative political parties. So Nimba County is supposed to belong to ANC, so it means Liberty Party. That's what I learned from the get-go. And because another county was given to Bond County, for instance, that's why Ambassador Jeremiah Solante was upset with, right?
Yeah.
So how come this primary issue came about? Anybody had some ideas?
Or not even ideas. This is the basis of like this is the formation, right? If you formate chaos, your end result will be chaos, right? They didn't think further enough. So when the formation was that Nimba given to the person, but based on voter VPS,
Right.
will have primary.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you get this one for you already. But we'll do a VPS, we have another, we can have primary. Who signs that kind of agreement? But if there were one party, my point here is, if there were one party on a one banner, that would have never been an issue. Either Gonglo Ware and Ta Wongwe would have been running on a one banner for a party in primary. And at the loss of any individual in that primary, no political party will release a statement. So formation itself is the issue. But today, I hate to agree with Mr. Coney, because it's not idea driven and it's job driven. You have formation like this. This CPP arrangement will make Joria president for 12 years.
Is that a prediction?
Mark my words. Mark my words. This CPP arrangement will make Joria president for 12 years. Because I can guarantee to you right now,
Is that
there's
why you
no
want,
way.
or is that why you're predicting?
That's not what I want. It's not. It has nothing to do with me. I'm not a politician. I'm not a politician. I look at data and I analyze data. Mm-hmm. This arrangement alone would make Josia president for 12 years. Because, and I'll tell you why. Because the way Liberian electorate runs is like the first round, you need X amount of numbers. Second round, there'll be two parties running. Every election we had since after the war, the ruling party has won election time over time, except 2017, when it got the second round. Because what happened in 2017? Once you start to make a arrangement in the second round, everybody cultivates or motivates or move towards the ruling party. Every other political arrangement moves towards the ruling party. It's not idea driven, it's job driven.
All right, Mr. Finney, let's focus on the response of the CPP and also the ANC. Mr. Jab, I have the statement. You want me to put it on the screen?
Yeah, let me read it quickly for our audience.
Okay.
This for immediate release. Nimba primary was a bad example for Liberia and contradicts the change CPP promises the Liberian people. Monrovia, Liberia, Friday, September 18, 2020. The ANC has renewed its objection and rejection to the results of the highly flawed Nimba County primary. The ANC says its renewed objection to the result of the Nimba primary is based on the independent review panel's report, which failed to validate the result and further noted the process has flawed and lacking credibility. As a party, we cannot, in good conscience, now validate any such results by accepting it because our colleagues believe we should do so in their interest. That our colleagues are resolved to impose a candidate from a flawed and bloody process on the Liberian people to contest on CPP's ticket makes it practically difficult for the CPP to detach itself from Liberia's business as usual politics. The ANC believes in fair and honest dealing and cannot lend credence to a process which conduct was a complete opposite of what the ANC stands for. It is unfortunate for anyone to expect the ANC to accept the results of a process our candidates and delegates did not participate in for fear of their lives or where bloodshed and violence was involved. If we must be an alternative to what we wish to change, We must do things differently in the interest of the people. The ANC remains committed to the CPP, but will not participate in the usual shortcut way of doing things in Liberian politics. We have made several compromises in the interest of keeping the CPP together, but will not compromise on our values as an institution. The ANC is calling on other constituent parties in the CPP to be ready to accept change if we are serious to change Liberia. Our promises to the Liberian people cannot and must not be lip service. We must be what we are promising. Liberia deserves better. Signed, Aloysius Toole, JD, National Secretary General.
So, folks in cyberspace, you are following us here, focus on Liberia. We are looking into statements coming from the ANC and also the chairman of the CPP, but we just read to you the statement from the ANC signed by its Secretary General Aloysius Toole, trying to renew their earlier position when the primary was conducted in Nimba County. And now in this statement, they're saying they are renewing their rejection and objection to the results, and that the election were marked by violence, and their or delegates or partisans did not participate for fear of their life, and so on and so forth. And so this is where we are today. What we want to know is this statement from the ANC. uh, what is it telling us? And this time we're going to start with Mr. Wilburn Cooney. Mr. Cooney, you just listened to the statement that Danny read beautifully. What is that telling you? What does it say about the CPP? Is the CPP in trouble here?
Well, like I said, the CCP came together on a very shaky foundation. No vision, no general national ideas that brought the parties together. It was just that singular idea to change a president. So the foundation is clearly shaking. But what is clear in that scenario is that, again, it continued to reinforce the idea that the opposition, be it the CCP or the ANC, they've not demonstrated to the Liberian people any clear alternative. They've not demonstrated any difference. You talk about violence by the ruling party. Here is the CCP itself in a storm of violence. You talk about credible elections. This is the CCP that cannot hold a credible election for 190 delegates. They cannot even clean the voter roll for 190 delegates. And they cry about cleaning voter roll for millions of voters. So basically, this whole thing has exposed the ANC / the CCP, CPP. They don't have the capacity. It seems they don't have the ability to articulate a national vision and adapt a national program that the Liberian people will look forward to say, well, you know what? This is what this group is charting that is different. This is what will make our lives better. So it's staggering,
Mr.
giving their criticism.
Mr. Colin, we all want a free and fair election, free of violence, so that people can be given the opportunity to exercise their franchise. In this case, it did not happen. Don't you think the ANC as a political party is on point here by saying, hey, for election to be free, it must be free, meaning freedom itself, but we have violence. So don't you think they are right to reject the result of the election here?
But it's not a question of them being right. It's the question of, listen, the primary was held under the leadership of the political leader of the ANC. Mm-hmm. You see, we're talking about his management capabilities. He is the head of the CPP. It is under his leadership. It is under his chairmanship that this primary was held. So the question is, what kind of leadership role did he play? The fact that he can oversee a primary marred in fraud, marred in violence, speaks volume. That's the point I'm making. This was a case for the CPP slash ANC to demonstrate capacity, to demonstrate leadership, to demonstrate transparency, to demonstrate accountability. They fail on all counts. And on the other hand, they are telling us that these are the things they will give us nationally. The question is, if you can't even do it in your house, what gave anybody the belief that you can do it to other people's homes? They failed in that regard. I think the CCP arrangement is flawed, and it's going to end up, it's going to end up in a very less effective political arrangement. They're going to end up
Mr.
that way.
Before we go to Desmond, and you still not really answering Asuni's question on let's forget about the big picture of them going into national politics. But because the elections, the primary were marred by violence, do they have a point to say, okay, we want to do this better? Since this is with all this chaos, we reject the result. Why don't you give them that credit?
I don't give them that credit because the result is the failure of their leadership. Why would you give people credit because they fail?
Thank you. Let's go to Desmond. Desmond, you heard the statement from the Secretary General of the ANC. Let's note that the ANC chairman is the current head of the CPP.
I'll say this to you guys, right? The ANC, it goes back to my original point I tried to make. If this was on a one unison party, this statement wouldn't be coming out. So the formation in itself is the flaw, it's the failure here. If you form, let me extrapolate. I'll answer this by saying this. Either going where right now is not going to get support from the ANC in the Makante. What does that say to the CDC candidate? It gives the CDC candidate more grounds. So because they formatted themselves in a way that doesn't produce results, therefore, Joshua will be president for 12 years. I'll go back to this again. The CDC candidate will win in Nimba by landslide.
Mr. Finney, before going to the win, let me hold you there. Before going to
Please.
winning and Georgia becoming president, the question is, you are making the point that, look, the formation was bad. And so there's a guarantee that nothing good will come from out of it. That is not entirely true. This is why.
No, I'm not saying that. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying the formation was bad. I say the formation is bad because it still exists. It's not worse. It is bad. Therefore, because it is bad, right now, ANC is saying they're not going to acknowledge either Gonglo way, right?
So let me come to my question. I don't know how that is different. I'm talking about the formation in the past. You are saying it exists today. I don't see much difference there. But my question to you is that, look, political parties coming together is a good idea. We all complain about having too many parties. So I don't see anything wrong with that idea whatsoever. Maybe it's the ability of trying to make it work, which is the harder part, and something that is a challenge to just about anybody. That's what they're facing today. But to say that because of this one instant, I mean, the CPP is doomed, I don't think that is a fair analysis. Your response.
So what's your question now? I want you good. That was a statement. I'm not a question. We got to get to your question. I want to get to your question.
So my question is, what is the bad that you see with the arrangement?
It's flawed. The origin of the arrangement is flawed. So if something is not done right, it's not done right at all. Right? So the idea here is ANC right now is not supporting either Gonglo where.
I don't see what is the flaw there. 4 political parties coming together, they make a decision that, hey, let us go together as a team so that we can feed individual candidates. Brilliant idea. What is the flaw issue about it?
The flaw issue here is now there were 4 that came together, now they're 3 fighting each other.
So it's justified. It's not because the idea was flawed. They're just having to disagree.
Mr. Sears, I'll answer the question one more time.
Yeah.
There were 4 that came together, right? The 4 that came together, now there are 4 fighting 1. They have less support now than they had before.
I agree with that part, but the idea is not a flawed idea, and that's the point I want you.
No, you see, Mr. Sears, I know I see what you're trying to say. The idea is not a flawed idea. It's the formation of the idea. So I can tell you right now, right? I want to build. I want to build a house, right?
So let me put the question the other way: if they have not had the incident, will you be here saying that there is a flawed idea, or the coming together was flawed? Will you be saying that?
Of course. I would have said it. I would have said it based on, because it's
what would be your basis then? What would be your basis then?
Exactly. The basis of my argument would be that it should have been formed under one political party. They did it in Gambia. The data is there. Go to Gambia. All the Gambian political parties, when I wanted to PTF, all the political parties in Gambia formed under one political party. They didn't say coalition funding under different parties. They formed one party in the PI Germany.
So in essence, Mr.
Let me finish now.
Fine, you are saying that what works is that, in essence, you are saying that what works is that come together as a unit. Don't
one unit,
individual identity.
Not 4 different units. Not 4 different units. Because 4 different units creates division. That's my point.
Okay.
Had it been on a united party, the statement that we're reading today will never be out.
Okay.
Had it been on an ANC, the statement reading today will never be out. Had it been on an ALP, the statement reading today will never be out.
So what would be your advice to the CPP? Because they are saying that they're going to make their thing work, and we will force them to make it work.
Oh, you know what? I don't have no advice to CPP, because the people in CPP are smarter than me. I can tell you what I can tell what will happen. CPP will be sitting on the sideline, which will be president in the next 6 years.
All right. He continued to say that, Dennis. He continues to say that Georgia going to win. I think somebody here might be a little happy. Like I'm to you, the man who is in the corner of our road medicine. Your take on what Desmond is saying.
Yeah, I know what Mr. Coney, I know what your take is, Judge.
But how could you know?
No, I just want to look.
How could you know?
You can't know, Dennis. Don't be reading my mind.
Before you come here, I want to add something a little more, because here is the thing. The reason ANC is rejecting this, number one, they say they don't want this shortcut way. They want the process to be transparent. I want to see whether you agree. They don't want to pay lip service if they are promising change. So they want to do things the right way. Okay. Also, they say the ANC cannot compromise on values.
But Dennis, can I come in here? Because I think you're trying to create an off-ramp for the ANC here. And
is that what happened to them?
Dennis is fighting to create an off-ramp for the ANC.
But those values are good values.
We are asking questions. We're not making statements here. We're asking questions. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, we have the right to also interpret your questions as the interpretation of our question.
Okay, we respect that right. Go ahead.
Yeah, you're trying to create an off-ramp. What you say, look, it's something similar to what one of my professors told me way back in college, that you have a student who is on scholarship and you need that 3-point GPA to maintain your scholarship. Okay. Instead of studying to maintain a 3-point GPA, you pass all the time, you fail your courses. By the time the instructor gave you the grade, and you tell the instructor, you know what, I really need a 3-point. What I'm saying here is that all of the values that the ANC are now claim to be possessing, all of these values needed to go into the planning of this primary, because this primary was planned with the ANC political leader as the chairman. There was the time that he would demonstrate the ANC value. This is the time that he was to demonstrate that we cannot do the same thing all of the time. His famous quote, we can't do the same thing over and over and expect the same result. This was the time that the political leadership need to put his foot on the ground on these things to ensure these things. He failed to do that. The whole thing bubbled out. Then now you claiming values. This is why I'm not giving the ANC any credit. They were at the top of this process.
On that note, Mr. Kune,
point
you have your time. It's just a question for you to
no,
continue. So what are the things that you see? Hold on, Mr. Kune. What are the things you see that contradict the ANC value? That the ANC is continuing to condone here.
Lack of leadership. The ANC
Everything that would just be leadership. Beside leadership, are there now other things you were talking about values? So that's what I wanted you to list those values that the ANC propagate, that you don't see them holding.
Or their commitment to free and fair election, their commitment to clean voter roll, their commitment to be
and
against
the free
corruption.
And fair election thing, I brought it up. You dismissed it. You said no, they can't talk about it. They don't have a point there.
Listen, I said they had the opportunity to put that into place. They failed. You want me to give them credit for their failure? I say I'm not doing that because they planned it. It was not planned in their absence. This whole primary was planned with the ANC leader as the chairman of the CPP. He had influence. He had power. He had the ability to ensure that this primary will not go this way. It went that way. And the other point I wanted to make, don't make the Nimba primary as an isolated thing. Look, right now, the CCP, they are one another throat in Cape Mount County. In Cape Mount County, they seem not to agree on the same candidate in Cape Mount County. This is all over the place. And you have this situation when people are now brought together based on shared national ideas, but rather the distribution of positions and jobs. So there's not an isolated thing to Nimba. It's happening in Cape Mount. It's happening in other counties.
Mr. Kune, the
ANC wanted to come in.
The ANC, let me come in for that. The ANC for some time now, I am tempted to say, honestly, been feeling that they have not been getting fair treatment in the whole arrangement. If we look at the history, don't you think?
So I get an advice.
Don't you think they have a point? It was their term sometime back in the very Cape Mount County you were talking about, for them to feed a candidate. The other side went and put forth a candidate, so they went back off. And now Nimba again, there's another situation. Don't you think the ANC has reason to complain at this time?
The reasons will continue to come about as long as there is no shared ideas. So my advice to the ANC, if they would take any advice from me, my advice to the ANC is that, look, the ANC never going to get their way in a CPP. I mean, I understand Mr. Cummings is putting all of these compromises probably as a down payment for his own presidential ambition in the future. But the fact of the matter is the arrangement of the CCP, places the ANC at a disadvantage. My advice is get out of the CCP, build your political institution, build your own political strength, and go to elections. Because you're not going to have the CCP to do what you want the CCP to do for you. You are outnumbered. You are outnumbered.
Mr. Kune, what you're trying to do is that's the low-hanging fruit. You are technically advising Mr. Cummings to do here, or take the easy route. That's the shortcut. The man trying to show that he's a leader. He can bring the four giants political party together and provide leadership. But even in that terrain, he can navigate and pull through. He's going the highway.
The only thing he's doing is making a down payment on his own endorsement in the future. That's the motivation for all the compromises.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Let's get to Mr. Jad. Dennis is hungry to talk something. Let's go, Mr. Jad.
No, Desmond was coming in. I just want Desmond to come in.
Oh, okay.
Desmond, you are on mute. Desmond, you stay on mute.
This primary was led led and supervised by Alexander B. Cummings. They stand up about the CPP. They stand up about the ANC and the chairman of the CPP. He led this primary. He was responsible for the security of this primary. He was ultimately responsible for the results of this primary. Then you leave from there and come back and complain and say the primary wasn't fair. Who are you complaining to? You the judge, jury, and interpreter. They come and tell me, say, And executioner, they come and tell me, say, it was not fair.
No, maybe that's why you should listen to him, because you are saying he is in charge and he is telling you that the election was marked by violence and fraud. I mean, you should listen to him, don't you think
No,
so?
I listen to him. You know what? As me listen to him, what that tells me?
Mm-hmm.
Listen to what that tells me?
No.
He himself is a crook.
Are you ready
Because
to
if
play
you
hardball with Cummings?
let me explain on that. I will explain on that for a little bit.
Okay.
If you learn something,
Mm-hmm.
you're responsible for the results,
Mm-hmm.
and then you come and tell me say not fair, then you're a crook.
No, Mr. Finney, I disagree.
But,
No, this is a political
That's for you
process.
to
Mr.
disagree.
Finney,
That's
hold
what
on.
that's my
Let me
opinion.
hold Finney accountable. Mr. Finney, hold on. This is a political process. You guys have to know how the game is being played. In a political process, when you go into a primary or election, you have people that are following you. You are leading a group of people. You report to them. So at the end of the primary, he had to report to the people that, hey, this is what went wrong. All right. And there was an investigation and he's making his report, and you say that for him doing the honest thing to report to the people what happened, it means that he's a crook.
No,
That is an unfair characterization
his
of the
report
issue.
is his report is only based on the fact that Kennedy didn't win, right? So would it be fair if Ty won?
And you would be the same person saying that, oh, something happened, the leader is not speaking. If Cummings have decided not to say
that's what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
You cannot come back and complain to me. Only you complain as a leader. The only reason you complain is because your candidate didn't win. You ran the whole process. You monitor and speak. You monitor the whole process, ran the process. Your candidate didn't win. Then you come back and complain to me. Then you tell me say you're a leader because you complain to me. Would this you complain about being a sister if Ty was
Don't you think that is an assumption that he's complaining because a candidate did not win? What's about the violence that took place?
Anthony, let me tell you something right now. All we're doing here now, we're making assumption. We're not doing nothing. The facts here for us to assume on the facts that existed. The fact of the matter was, let me tell you what the facts are. Alexander Cummings is the chairman of the CPP. That fact number one. Alexander Cummings is still up there the ANC. Fact number two. Fact number three, that woman was a candidate for the ANC in the primary. In the Congo where was a Liberty Party candidate. Right? That's the facts. We know what the result came to. Now the leader, so 3-1. The leader of the stand-up, the chairman of the CPP, the stand-up of the ANC, and a candidate lost is now complaining of the process that he established. I don't say you established. I said he, Alexander Cummings, established the primary process as a leader of the CPP. He established this process. He put it in place. The mechanisms were in place. The candidate lost in time. The process was flawed. So what kind of better process we get, Mr. Cummings? Please explain to me.
All right. Here are a few things that we need to take into consideration. I see Mr. Cummings smiling there. Number one, Mr. You used some harsh words on Mr. Alexander Cummings, calling him a crook. And we want to hold you there. But
I'll take that back. Let's move forward.
All right. All right. And Mr. Cummings, if you are listening, we want to invite you right here on Focus on Liberia. Also, we want to note that we have invited the Secretary, Mr. Aloysius Stowe of the ANC, so that we can have this discussion. But for the past months, we have had no success inviting anyone from the ANC to appear on Focus on Liberia to discuss these things. But here are some things. And I think Mr. C.A. Desmond has a point here when he talks about who is Mr. Cummings complaining to, because he's the superintendent of this process.
Amen.
Okay, because I listened to his chief of staff, what's her name, saying that as part of the process, the political leaders, as they call them, I hate that word really because it's just telling us.
That is a good word. They are in politics, so they have to be political leader. Don't read too much.
No, but if you are chairman of the party, you're a political leader. The title of a political leader is just the other way of saying everlasting standard bearer, which is not a good thing in our political process. But here's my point.
Is a father. When you have children, you are a father. Then don't read too much. Let's go.
No, it's not true. We see politics here in America. We don't have political leaders. Every year we have a new standard bearer based on you have a party chairman. So you don't have political leader apart from the party chairman.
Okay.
You're just having a perpetual standard bearer, which is wrong. But here's the thing. According to Marias, that's her name, all the political leaders were barred from going into Nimba County because they don't want them to influence the process. So Mr. Cummings was not supposed to go to Nimba during this primary. Mr. Ure was not supposed to go there. Mrs. Yombly Kangalore was
not supposed to go there.
None of them supposed to go there. So I'm wondering, I mean, what kind of arrangement is this? That
exactly. So let me ask something. So why, if somebody wasn't allowed to go there, why was what a man from Lofa Kale, Tembe? Why was Tembe there?
So they said
maybe because Tembe was not a political leader.
And
well, Tembe is the chairman of the Liberia Party.
No, you're talking about Zago.
You see formation? You see my issue with formation?
Zago, not Tembe.
I disagree. You guys don't have it. You guys don't have point right there. We are here in the United States. I've participated in primaries multiple times. You don't see the candidates. I mean the presidential candidates there. No, they don't have to be there. So I think
right, but
the decision they made, there's nothing wrong with that.
Is it by any arrangement to say the candidate shouldn't come because when you come, you're going to influence this process? Is that the arrangement? I don't think so.
Can I make another bigger
So the point I was making here, Mr. Cummings, before you come in, is that was the arrangement. Don't come. And so by virtue of Mr. Benena Ure being around there, I don't know to say he went there or not, that because of that, they accuse him of tampering with the process. And another thing why did this happen was Mr. Benena Ure accordingly fired the delegates that were supposed to, so those who were supposed to vote for the primary,
yes.
were replaced. Next thing is, when this happened, we saw surrogates of the ANC going on social media, calling the process flawed. In fact, Mr. Wongwe claimed that there was an assassination attempt on his life. Benena Ure was blamed for this, and there were some surrogates calling for ANC to field candidates in all 15 counties.
Okay, so Mr. Jao, I will take that for a second before Mr. Cummings. Mr. Cummings, please let me just take this for a second, right? Everything you just explaining here right now goes back to leadership. If Mr. Alexander B. Cummings cannot manage a simple primary, what makes you think I want to vote for Mr. Alexander Cummings in the next 6 years? Let's go.
So
he couldn't manage.
This is how you come to the conclusion that Mr. Cummings cannot manage primary. Mr. Cummings have people in charge of the primary who failed to perform their responsibilities. No, I've got to hold you accountable. Cummings was not there. Cummings, there were leadership. They had a committee in charge.
You don't have to be nowhere to manage nothing. We're in 2020. We all know that. We're on the reason why we're talking right now, not because I'm sitting next to you in the studio.
Yeah.
We're in 2020. I don't have to physically be there to manage something, right? Authority and management are two different things, right? Mr. Cummings lacks authority and management skills to come out to a complaint about a process that he had total responsibility of.
All right. Thank you. Let's come to Mr. Cummings. Mr. Cummings
but let me stay home, Mr. Desmond. Do you know the process? What was the setup? What was the structure of this primary? Do you know? Or you assuming
I do not know, but I'll tell you this, right? I do not know I don't know no intricate details of this, right? But whatever was set up, Mr. Cummings, as the chairman of the CPP, had to approve it, right or wrong.
I will assume so. Let's go to Mr.
I will assume so. So based on that, that's his process. He set up, so he's liable for it.
Mr. Cummings, today I don't have bitter ball for you, so I see that you're laughing. Let's go. Make your interjection.
Look, I'm laughing, but there are very important issues here. The reason why they are important for me is, I have my side in this debate, but I value the opposition because I think the Liberian people deserve choice.
You put too much on the opposition, Mr. Cummings.
What we are discussing here tonight speak to larger issues. Look, besides the violence, you look at the organization of the primary. Look, it supports my point that all along, our country has been a Monrovia-based country. Monrovia wants to determine everything that happened in Liberia. We are told that there were primary rules that were put together, some of that to ensure that those who participate in the primary are citizens, registered voters of Nimba County. One of the agreements they reached was that primary delegates needed to be verified by their voter registration card in Nimba County. This was the rule. While that primary was in process, that rule was circumvented. They started to accommodate other identifications that would take people from Monrovia, national ID card, passport, all kinds of useless document that gave no legitimacy, that gave no validation as to whether the voter is from Nimba. So the CCP, the ANC, they got nothing new. That's the point I'm making. They have nothing new. They've marketed themselves as something that will be new, as something that will be different. But in all practical purposes, they are exactly what they've been preaching against. This is the larger point I'm making. You cannot preside over a simple primary. You cannot establish your values, your leadership among people that are supposed to be like-minded.
Thank you.
How are you going to really exert that leadership, that value over other people that disagree with you? He couldn't do that.
Thank you,
This
Mr.
is
Cooney.
the point I'm making.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you just joining us, this is Focus on Liberia. We are discussing the CPP and ANC response to the primary process in Nimba. And let's read few comments from our viewers. And then we're going to bring this second statement, which comes from the chairman of the CPP, Mr. Alexander Benedict Cummings. But few of the comments here, Joseph Conto want to remind you, Mr. Cooney, that it is not CCP, it is CPP. Alfonso Bawi, he doesn't like hear that we will win. That's why he keeps cutting you off. So somebody cutting you off, Mr. Finley, because they don't want we are to win. It's completely upside down from Rodney P. Barton. Seka Romeo said, exactly, he's in denial of Judge We are 12 years. Pape Flomo, the flaw is they keep cheating the ANC. Al Blamo said, because they don't have any vision for Liberia, talking about the CPP. CPP and CDC have no visions by Al Blamo. And then Kebe Giflop Bole, he said, ha, 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 you are sick if you think we will be president for 12 years. Anthony Gay, no one could have preamble the unforeseen circumstances, or no one could have predicted the unforeseen circumstances in Nimba. Joseph Conto said the speaker is not up to the task. Helena Flomo, Cummings said he wants to make president. We are a one-term president, so he forced to accept everything the CPP wants to or want to do. The last one, Gay, stop dreaming. Nobody's in the CPP can win Judge We are in any election. So those are a few comments, and that brings us to the second statement. The statement from the ANC secretary came on it was sent to our email on around 6 p.m. Friday, September 18. Then on September 19 at 9:55 a.m., here is a special statement by Alexander B. Cummings, political leader of the CPP, on developments surrounding the primary and violence in Nimba. You want to hear this? Mr.
Yeah, I have the first paragraph on the screen for our viewers as you read it.
All right. So the statement reads, fellow Liberians and partisans of the collaborating political parties, on Sunday, December 6, 2020, delegates of the Alternative National Congress, ANC, the Unity Party, UP, the Liberty Party, RP, and the All Liberian Party, ALP, gathered in Sanikole to hold a primary to elect a candidate to represent Nimba in the 2020 special senatorial elections. More than being the political capital of Nimba, Sanikole bears another symbol, the birthplace of African unity. CPP was therefore thrilled to assemble in Sanikole, believing that the ideals Liberia championed in 1963 to unite Africa will keep the people of Liberia united through the CPP.
Stop right there,
Unfortunately,
Stop right there. Talking about leadership, this is Mr. Alexander Benedict Cummings trying to show leadership, trying to bring about the history of the setting that was chosen for the particular primary. And the hope was that, okay, this place being a historic area will remind the Paulistans and Liberians about unity. But unfortunately, that did not happen. Things went to the contrary. I think Mr. Cummings was telling the truth there. And I think he was trying to show leadership by reminding Liberians about the essence of unity in Liberia, specifically about Saniquele being that place or symbol of unity. So Mr. Finlay was talking about the lack of leadership, or Mr. Cummings was also putting everything on the lack of leadership. I think this man is trying to show leadership there. Look at that first paragraph. Mr. Finlay, remove yourself on mute. I see you very hungry there to say something. Remove yourself on
Mr.
mute
Sear,
and say,
I was saying
yeah,
this
go
to
ahead.
you, right?
Yeah.
The key word you keep using, I think, is he was trying.
Oh,
You
yes,
can
that's the
try.
key word. Yeah, he has to try.
You can try,
Mm-hmm.
or you can achieve.
Mm-hmm.
He tried, he didn't achieve. So he didn't achieve leadership.
Okay.
This thing we're discussing today, the result of the statement that they posted, he
Mm-hmm.
may have tried to achieve leadership.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't achieve leadership. He hasn't achieved leadership. Mr. Cummings, for years over years, has not proven leadership in anything I ever done in Liberia. And I move forward. I leave my statement right there.
Thank you. And Mr. Sear, to that point of the OAU, the OAU has been has metamorphosed into the AU, right?
Yeah.
And Liberia has not paid hot deals to the AU. Mm-hmm. And so according to what we heard, Liberia is now going to be an observer. I don't know why, if maybe Mr. Cummings should have included that too, because it's part of the symbol that he's trying to say.
No, he was trying to be positive here.
Okay, let's stay positive. Again, we read the first statement from the ANC, of which Mr. Cummings is the president or is the chairman. Mm-hmm. Now, in less than 24 hours, this statement is coming from Mr. Cummings himself. And let me continue.
Yep.
Unfortunately, the primary was not managed properly and became a divisive, bloody theater of violence, causing great pain and embarrassment to the CPP. For fear of his life, Tai Wongbe, a major contender and candidate of the ANC and his supporters, did not participate in the primary, thereby rendering the primary between only two candidates incomplete and invalid. An independent review panel constituted to investigate the conduct of the Nimba County senatorial primary did not validate the result, and further noted the process has flawed and lacking credibility. As leader of the CPP, I am concerned about the outcome of the primaries and accept the painful truth from the IRP. Full stop.
Mr. Kone? Yeah, then let's stop right there. Again, we're talking about leadership. Here is the chairman of the CPP now taking responsibility, trying to own this problem and trying to get to the bottom of it. Again, do you maintain that he's not showing leadership here?
The mayor is promoting confusion.
How?
He's promoting. First of all, he's talking about an investigation done by the independent review panel. Mm-hmm. He failed to tell us whether this is the panel of the ANC or was it a panel constituted by the CCP? I
would think the CPP, because in this he's speaking in the capacity of chairman of the CPP.
Well, because the reason why we're saying that is that his own party conducted an investigation, so he needed to be a little bit specific whether it is the collaborating political parties panel that is making this decision. It's all a confusion. And this is not leadership here. What I see happening as you go down, Mr. Cummings is prepared to sacrifice a lot of people for his own political aggrandizement. He cashed in all of these things in the form of compromises as a down payment for what he think the CPP will give him. But this is not leadership. This is just...
What is your definition of political aggrandizement?
Mr. Kune, yeah, answer. Yeah, go ahead before I come in.
Yeah.
Something that would benefit you specifically, something that would benefit you. What you want in this whole arrangement, look, we shouldn't fool ourselves. What Mr. Cummings wants out of this whole CPP thing is for him to be endorsed as the standard bearer of the CPP. So he will crush every and anything that will produce that outcome. If it means sacrificing somebody now to gain that later on, he will do it under the guise of leadership. But it's not leadership. It's just it's confusion. It's the promotion of his own interests at the expense of other people, that have a stake in this matter.
Okay. Three things I got from that paragraph.
Mm-hmm.
And first of all, I should agree with the point you made, Mr. Cooney, on the IRP, the Independent Review Board. That's very vague. I don't know if that was intentional.
Independent Review Panel.
Can I comment?
Yeah. Before you come in, it said the Independent Review Panel was constituted to. So that's very vague. We don't know who these people are, what they found. And he said they did not validate the result. That again is vague. They did not validate the result. But here are the three things that are in this paragraph that I just read before you come.
So, when you say vague, what do you mean? I mean, they're talking about the result. We're not credible. So,
no, he said they did not validate the result. That is not clear. Okay.
What result?
It is clear. We're talking about the primary result here. That means that they could not tell that the results were legitimate results because they were marked by Marlin. So that's what it's saying.
So what could they tell? What could they tell? They
by the review process, the independent review panel did.
No, he said they did not validate. That's vague. We don't.
That's vague. Mr. Sear, Mr. Sear, I agree with Mr. Jaya today.
Okay.
Mr. Jaya, continue, please.
Okay, here are the three things that I found in this in the first part of in the paragraph. Number one, Mr. Cummings said the primary was not managed properly. Number two, he said it was a divisive, bloody theater of violence. And number three, the IRP found the process flawed and lacking credibility.
Can I speak to that?
Exactly. That's what I want you to come in.
Thank you. Who was managing the process?
Is that a rhetorical question?
You said that before. You said that Cummings is the one managing the process, and I disagree with you.
Exactly. So you manage the process. You come and tell us the process wasn't managed fairly. Then we'll give you what credibility are we giving you?
Any truth in that Cummings was the one managing the process?
Yes.
Any truth in that?
Yes.
What is that truth?
He's the chairman of the CPP.
So when you are chairman, that means that you manage everything?
Yes. The buck stops with the boss.
But Mr. Sear, who could be the head of this entire process?
The person who is in charge of the primaries. The person who is in charge. Look, what you guys are doing here is that you are telling me that, let's take for example, the president of Liberia. If the final minister is not doing well, do you blame the president personally for bad decision being made by the president?
That's what we do all the time.
Yes, it happens all the time.
Yes, all the time.
Yes.
That's why it's done all the time, Asuni.
Yes.
That's not I disagree with that, but let's make progress.
Okay, because Mr. Kumi did not say if he himself. I don't know how close was he to the process because he has not stated to us what he knows about this process.
Mr. Ja, if he wasn't close to the process, right? That's what his lack of leadership. If he delegated his responsibility to somebody else to do it, that's what his lack of leadership. You cannot be the head of a process or a procedure and tell me, say, we're all working in the Western world, right?
Mm-hmm.
And delegate your responsibility to somebody else.
I continue to disagree with you.
No, let me finish now.
Leaders designate responsibilities. Listen now. Leaders designate responsibilities. The people in charge, if they fail, the leader needs to hold them accountable. You can't blame the leader directly responsible.
Mr. Sear,
who you only responsible?
I'm not saying that Exam Commission should not be elected. That's why I'm talking about it today. I'm telling you why. This is his fault. You cannot be the head of CPP and tell me the process of a primary or poorly managed. Who should be blamed?
All right. Let me. We have a lot of callers. We have a lot of
What about
callers
Malu?
waiting, so let me rush through the statement and then we can have our callers to come in. The call number one, okay. The next paragraph, Mr. Cummings is saying, today I renew my condemnation of the violence, and the Nimba primary process has flawed and therefore consider its outcome invalid. I reiterate my position and remain firm that no candidate won the Nimba primary. Under the circumstances, it may be logical to split the biblical baby, as in King Solomon's days, to allow each of the candidates, Tai Wongwe and Edith Gonglo, to freely contest as independent candidates if they choose, and that choice is theirs to make. Let me read on. Mr. Cummings is coming to the big one now. As political leader of both the CPP and the ANC, I'm mostly concerned about saving Liberia by keeping the CPP together and redirecting our energies towards our real challenge, the corrupt and inept leadership of our country, while being mindful of the special political interests of the ANC. I'm therefore grateful that Tai Wongwe of the ANC has agreed with me and consented to put Liberia above ourselves and make the sacrifice while he makes decisions on his next steps. Under the circumstance, I, Alexander B. Cummings, have agreed to let Edith Gonglo represent the CPP in Nimba. This will ensure that we have candidates in all 15 counties in the upcoming elections, that the CPP and especially ANC is committed to women empowerment and increase of female representation. To our colleagues in the CPP, our numerous compromises on many occasions within the CPP is not a sign of weakness, but a determination to keep Liberia's opposition together, despite attempts to break it apart. We are committed to redeeming Liberia through a united fight against the CDC. To our partisans in the ANC, we have made several compromises in the interest of keeping the CPP together, and in many instances hurt the ANC. But let us remember that Liberia is greater than us all. We assure you that Liberia will win, and the ANC and CPP will triumph. God bless you, God bless Liberia, and save the state. I thank you.
Dennis, I think we should go to our callers. Let our analysts wait a little bit. What do you think?
No, we have let our analysts make a statement.
So, gentlemen,
on
what
that.
I got here is Ellis Cummings is sacrificing Tai Wongwe. All right,
Yeah.
for the unity of the ANC. It is clear, and he's quoting that usual Bible story and all that. He dared to make a own independent decision, but he has talked to him and kind of talking out to let it slide. He's sacrificing Tai Wongwe, or just to keep the CPP united. Do you see that?
And besides that, these two statements are coming in less than 24 hours apart. So we don't know.
I do not see that. Mm-hmm. I do not see what I don't see what Anthony is seeing. Okay. You know what I see in that statement? Mm-hmm. Right? No. The line I say, I, Alexander Cummings, chairman of the CPP and chairman of the ANC. Mm-hmm. The duplicitous nature of that statement is the reason they will never win nothing. The duplicitous nature of that statement. I, Alexander Cummings, chairman of the CPP and chairman and political leader of the ANC. It's the basis of their failure. And I'm done with that.
How does that constitute any failure?
Hold on, Mr. Asini, let Mr. Kumi make a point, then we go to our callers. They are hungry.
Yeah, but listen, I said it earlier that Mr. Cummings is out for himself. You can see the deception written all over the statement. How he's craftily hiding his own self-interest, talking about sacrifice. What kind of sacrifice for a country that will allow you to accept a fraudulent process, a corrupt process? What sacrifice are you making?
No, Mr. Kuni, you are wrong. He's not accepting the fraudulent process. That is not an acceptance.
Anthony, the man says, see, the sacrifices are made all the way that time. This is my time now. Make a sacrifice now. This is what he's creating a false choice. He's creating a false choice. If he believed that the process was fraudulent, that the process was violent, the CPP could have redone the primary. They could have done that.
Thank
Well,
you.
maybe in their framework, there's something that they call consensus. Then maybe that consensus or one-on-one they apply here.
All right, let's hold it there.
Anthony,
Let's go.
beyond redemption. You're beyond redemption, Anthony. Let me leave you.
Let's go to our callers. We have our first caller, Pape Flomo.
Yes, how you guys doing in the studio there? Let me just jump in real quick. Look, since Henry Costa, the de facto founder of the CPP, since the inception of the whole CPP, since Henry Costa founded the CPP, I said that because Henry Costa said, if Benina Ure, Joseph Wakai, the Liberty Party, and the ALP, if they don't come together to get rid of George Weah, I will attack all of them. And less than 4 days, the CPP was founded. So that's why I said Henry Costa is the de facto founder of the CPP. So since the inception of the CPP, Alex Cummings has been cheated all along. In District 13, they gave it to Cornelia Kratopa, Unity Party. District 15, Tilia Ure, ALP. Monserrado County, DeLon, Liberty Party. Conventional wisdom tells you that Cape Man should have gone to where? Should have gone to ALP. But what did they do? They gave it back to the Unity Party. And what the brother said is true. When you go to Nimba County, what happened there? They gave Nimba County to the ANC. But because Liberty Party knows that their candidate, Madam Gonglo, is popular in that area, they injected this element of VPS. Which made Madam Gonglo to come up over the VPS, and then they had a primary at the very last minute. Benina Ure changed his delegates. Why did he do that? Because Tao Wongwe had convinced the ALP delegates to vote for him, and because Mr. Benina Ure did not like that, he changed his delegates at the 11th minute. That's fraud. They cheated Tao Wongwe. That's robbery in broad daylight. And in conclusion, Mr. Alex Cummings is doing all of this because he thinks he will get a bigger prize. That is the standard bearership of the CPP. If Mr. Alex Cummings really thinks that he will get the standard bearership of the CPP in the face of Benina Ure, he must be very naive, like a 5-year-old child. Thanks for having me.
Pape Flomo, hold on there, Pape Flomo. What is your advice to the ANC? What is your advice to the ANC, given what you know now?
Pape Flomo.
My advice to the ANC is this: they shouldn't have joined the CPP in the first place. He should get out and run his party singularly. Finish. He cannot ever suffice in the CPP. No way. It's 3 against 1. He has no hope. There is no chance for him. He should get out. Thank you.
Pape Flomo, the VPS was the idea from the ANC. So I just want you to note.
Yes, the VPS. Yes, that is true. But they came up with VPS because why? They knew that if they had distributed this country, even the ANC stood no chance. If they're going for primary in all the country, they still stood no chance. And that's why they came up with a VPS.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Dennis, before you take the other caller, it seems that the ANC is getting roasted here by her own VPS.
Mr. Joseph Cotto.
Yes, sir, Mr. Jaya. Thank you for taking my call. I want to speak to several issues here when it comes to the ANC, the CPP, and everything that's going on. I'm sorry to say, those that got on your panel tonight, they are giving misinformation when it comes to the CPP and Mr. Cummings and that of the ANC. And then I will go about to say this.
Sure.
The VPS issue came about to be able to get the best candidate that can win across the country.
Yeah.
Okay. The primary focus was how can they choose the best candidate to win? Don't just go to primary, because you go to primary, those are going to be voting. They wouldn't be the one to go through the primary process because it's not an open primary process to go through the entire country. Joseph Konto, I'm one of those that wrote this lady. They call her Yasini, Sis Yasini.
Yeah.
I wrote her,
Oh, do you
and I
say
told her that. Yes, I told her. I said, well, what we need. I'm not a member of any of the political parties. I am not. I told her, I said, what needs to be done is that we need to the opposition need to focus on electability. Electability is key. Do not just go about and choose a candidate when you don't know how the voters feel towards this, these candidates. Then she agreed with me. She said she was going to bring it up to the leadership of the political parties, which she did. So when it came to this guy, they called Simeon, this Simeon guy from Kidman County that was running. ANC is an underdog, so as to speak. What do I mean by that? ANC in the 2017 election, she's now win any seat in the government. Because of that, the other political parties use that against her. And Mr. Cummings, when your man Coney over there accusing Mr. Cummings of not exercising or providing leadership, he's dead wrong. He is dead wrong. Mr. Cummings have exercised complete leadership throughout. He has made concessions. And the concession he's making it because of leadership. He put in Liberia above himself and his political party. So when the UP said that they got the number, and that in fact the seat in Grand Kidman County were occupied by the candidate, by the member who passed away, therefore they had the number to win the seat. Again, I wrote since you have seen the asshole. I told her, I said, well, what the ANC need to do? She need to withdraw the candidate, which of course the ANC did. When the ANC presented the withdrawal letter to the candidate to sign, which was required, Mr. Simeon Taylor, or whatever his name is, refused to sign it. He ran anyway. He contested, and he came second. So because of that, because of the sacrifice that the ANC made, the United Party and whatever had to give up Kidman County for the ANC.
Wait,
now,
so I
got
a question. They call it going to let you on it.
Yeah, Mr. Conto.
I tell you. I think I need to invite him for his own show.
Mr. Conto, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You can let you on there. We ain't here for let you on there.
Yeah, just wrap it up.
Well, I'm going to wrap it up, but you think the reason why I'm touching these things because those that are on your panel tonight, they are using these things against the ANC and the entire CPP.
And
I think it is wrong.
Mr. Conto.
You're talking about senator that already sitting. You're talking about senator that already sitting.
Mr. Finney, hold
on. Senator already in the chair. What are we discussing now?
Mr. Finney, hold on.
If we the listeners that are listening to you, okay, we got followers. If you can touch on these things and we are not allowed to touch on it, then where does that put you?
No, because
you make it. You are giving information. You are giving information to vote.
Mr. Conto, I want to address Mr. Conto.
Go on, Mr. Conto. Hello? Here's the thing. Let me ask you this question before you close. You have the two statements, one from the secretary and from the ANC and one from the political leader of the ANC coming in less than 24 hours. What does that tell you? And they both contradicting each other. And Mr. Cummings is part of the two. Yeah, what does that tell you?
I totally agree that the two statements contradict each other. But this is where leadership and compromises come in.
Thank you.
Leadership and compromise. If you look at the letter that Mr. Cummings wrote, the final one that you read, in there he said, Tao Wombe have decided to put Liberia above. Okay? They have decided to put Liberia above. So for that reason, Mr. Cummings, has decided that they are going to support Ms. Ile Gonglo, where as the CPP candidate, even though the way how the process went on, they did not like it and did not agree with it. He said that clearly. But yet still,
Mr. Conto.
Thank you, Mr. Conto. We want to go to the next caller.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, let's
you got Anthony Gay on the line. You got Anthony Gay on the line. I got something for Anthony Gay.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Gay, before you go into your discussion, hold on, Mr. Gay. Before you go into whatever you have to say, let me read something to you here. And I found this on says Yasene Martin page. I don't know whether she is the author of the post or she shared it, but I think she agreed with it, and it reads, since CPP framework has been violated by URE or ALP, ANC must now feed candidates in all 15 counties in 2020 a test for 2023. I believe that there are a lot of members of the ANC that feel this way. Do you, as a member, feel this way too?
Absolutely not. And yes, why?
Okay.
Listen, I was one of those, I value institutions than individual. Tomorrow, if somebody emerges that I feel comfortable who is, better than Mr. Cummings, I'll vote for that person over Mr. Cummings. I always say that. But until then, I go with Mr. Cummings today, any day, for the CPP Senate barbershop. But let me say this. Most people, including your two guests on your show tonight, they hope, and all their hope, that the CPP fails. They're going, oh yeah, these guys are not good. They're good for nothing. They're all jokers. That's their hope. So everything that we do, first of all, what was the essence of having a primary? Is to find the best candidate. Is to find the best candidate. That was the purpose of having a primary. Madame Bonglo, part of the CPP. Kai Wangwe, part of the CPP. Absolutely, we are embarrassed of what happened in Nimba. We condemn the violence. But here's the thing. Something happened, we must address it. In much as it's not good for us publicly, we must address it. It is our responsibility to address it. And guess what? What happened 2 seconds ago, our last minute to the time, we have addressed the issue. The ultimate goal for the ruling party and sympathizer of the ruling party is that they should make sure that CPP does not stand. I can challenge anybody in Liberia. If the CPP holds, it will be a very hard thing for any political party in Liberia, including the ruling party, to win CPP. That's the challenge. Perfect example of Maserado County. Look at Abraham Dallas Delon. Mathematically, the ruling party cannot win the CPP. Mathematically, they cannot win. Politically, the CPP is gaining momentum. And this is the reason why, look at what all has transpired. The group that constituted the investigation were CPP members. They were independent members, and this committee was funded by the CPP, not by Mr. Cummings. So, Mr. Cooney, there was also a statement that was put out how these panels were founded. That statement is out there. If you don't have it, ask Mr. Ja or Mr. Anthony Siet to give you my number. Inbox me. I will send you that particular statement that spelled out how those guys came about. So their report came, and they found out that going forward, we must put on the best candidate. And thank God,
Mr. Gay,
Madam Dongla came out to be the winner.
Mr. Gay,
yes.
There are many who looking at history and saying that, look, this collaboration thing has never worked in Liberia. Don't you think those people have legitimate concerns, and that Le Pape Flomo, he said that the ANC should pull out and try to build a serve and maybe make it formidable, maybe people will come to it. There are other people that are saying, look, dissolve the whole arrangement and come up with a single party. Which one will you prefer?
And I respect each one of their opinion and their concern. They are all legitimate concern. But here's the thing. We all have opinions of things. We all have suggestions of things. That does not mean our suggestion or opinion are the way forward. Yes, some of us were very skeptical, including my very self, because I am also an executive member of the ANC. So I'm not just a regular member. So here's the thing. I was not comfortable joining the CPP. But as a cardinal stand, no one political party can win an election in Liberia. So we accepted the circumstances and agreed to collaborate.
So this is like a forced marriage, Mr. Gay. This is like a forced marriage.
Well, you can interpret it anyway. Every person goes into a marriage for a reason. No, I'm just saying you can interpret it wherever it is. I don't think it's a forced marriage.
Okay.
It is a marriage that we looked at and saw all the conditions and agreed to the conditions.
All right. Thank you.
Everybody who goes into a relationship not getting everything that they want, but something within that relationship that is positive that you hope to build upon. And we think we
Thank
can
you.
build upon what we have in the CPP and change the status quo of Liberia.
Thank you, Mr. Gay. Thank you so very much.
Thanks for having me, sir.
We'll try to reach out to you since you are an executive. I didn't know. I know you to be a member. I didn't know you were an executive. I would like to bring you here to play hardball with you.
I am a chapter chairman. I'm a chapter chairman of the ANC USA.
All right, that is good enough. We'll bring you here to talk about the ANC. Thank you very much, Mr. Cha.
No problem. Thank you.
Let's go back to our Mr. Finlay. You try to make your statement, and before you respond to so make your statement to your response to the callers.
Yeah, so there's certain things I have to say, right? The first thing I want to say is every caller that call it, not every caller, the second caller, the last caller, right? The first caller say he calling sis Yesindi, right? I call sis Yesindi for this. I call the other sis Yesindi and I tell her this. This last caller admitted that he was an ANC chairman. The problem with ANC is this, and I'll say it. I given it an advice. ANC have more chairpersons in America than it had in Liberia. This is an advice to ANC. Take it from me.
How you know that?
For a fact. ANC have more constituents in America. There are only 30,000 people. There are only 30,000 Liberians in Minnesota. ANC have more constituents in America than it have in Liberia. So you take the whole Minnesota carry Liberia, ANC get with leisure. My advice to ANC is this. If I were Alexander Cummings, this is my advice to ANC. I'll tell you now. Because two ANC people call the call. I'll tell you this. It has nothing to do with the discussion we're having. Alexander Cummings in 2017 spent upwards of $6 million. That's that ANC analysis. In the presidential and representative election. My friend got 4,000 for it. He lost. It didn't produce one representative before I say senator. Right? Got less than 400,000 votes. And then on top of that, kept his whole executive. After spending all that money, kept the whole executive in rotation. Some of them even got promotion. Mr. Cummings worked for Coca-Cola. There's no way Coca-Cola would spend $400,000. I said $4 million, $400,000 on a project that didn't yield results and keep every staff member there. In my opinion, Mr. Cummings lacked leadership in their own presidential aspiration. Prior to this incident we're talking right now, I believe my hope and dreams for Liberia is this. Mr. Cummings, president of Liberia, brings credibility to our country. But his inability to act and react is the source of his failure in our country. So you ANCers in America, because ANC are not in Liberia, they get ANC people in Liberia, we don't get ANC in America. You ANCers in America, y'all move back home and have chapters there. Don't stay in America here, my brother. So they're not in there. I'm done.
Thank you.
Well, I don't know where he's coming from with that ANC does not have people in Liberia. But I'll leave it there. Like I'm to Wema Wetin-Kunin, the chief political analyst here at Focus on Liberia. And Mr. Kunin, asked me to make this clear to our viewers. He is a political analyst here, but he has a side that he's sympathetic to. That does not mean that he's not an analyst. You guys watch CNN, You see the facts, the Republican analysts will always analyze on Republican viewpoints. The same can be said about the Democratic Party. So all the noise you people make, oh, your analyst, this, that, he's analyzing based on where he stands or how he sees the issue. Mr. Cooney, sorry to do that, but that's it. Your take,
Thank you.
your response to the call-offs.
And thank you for making that point very clear. But look, this is the thing. This is the thing here, Asani. Like I said, if you read the letter, especially the current one from Mr. Cummings, Mr. Cummings is trying to deceptively tell us that there is only one choice in this matter. Either you accept the result of the fraudulent process or the CPP breaks down. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Even if that one way, this is not a that one way personal thing.
No.
This is a political arrangement process. So even if that one way decides not to contest, but given the fact that Mr. Cummings himself has determined that the process is fraudulent, that he cannot invalidate the result of the process, that he believes there is no winner from the primary, even in the face, if Mr. Cummings really wanted to play leadership, even in the face of that one way not having further interest, what could have been done was to convince another primary, even if it meant Edith at this time will go on a white ballot to put the CCP together. But to say, look, I accept the result of this criminal process, this fraudulent process of peace. And people are calling it leadership. Is what is staggering, that you must accept fraud in the name of sacrifice. Who does that? What kind of leader does that? So this is what reinforces my point that in as much as the ANC is saying that they cannot do the usual shortcut in Liberian politics, Mr. Cummings is adapting the methodology of shortcut for his own presidential ambition. He's doing all of these things, not for country, but making a down payment for the future, for the CCP to endorse him as a candidate. This is why he's sacrificing every and all things that come his way, even if it means he's going to maintain a fragile unity that will produce him as a standard bearer. This is not leadership. This is selfishness. This is selfishness. And I'm willing to debate with the ANC people any day on this. You cannot sacrifice principle. You cannot sacrifice value. And you're saying that you're sacrificing for country. If your own, hold on, let me learn. If your own primary process is fraudulent, what credibility do you have to make statement on other fraudulent election? If you accept the fraudulent process of your own making. So the final point I want to make, I mean, if Mr. Cummings were to take the pulse of the ANC, he will quickly realize that many of his members want the ANC to leave that CPP. The ANC would be well by itself if it were to organize itself and fight for itself. All of these patchwork unity that he's trying to maintain because he thinks the CCP will pronounce him or carry him as a standard bearer, it's not going to work. The numbers are against him. It's not going to work. And like the other person said, it would be complete political naivety for him to believe that he can sacrifice everybody in his path, and at the end of the day, Bernard Ure or somebody in the Liberal Party will say, oh yeah, you are the CPP candidate. It's not foreseeable. That's the point we're making.
All right, Mr. Kone, earlier you quoted Mr. Cummings, his usual saying that we can't be doing the same thing over and over and expect a different result. Maybe Mr. Cummings is making this move because the history of Liberia is that people always refute election results, and that is the one thing we've been doing over and over. So this is Cummings saying, okay, let's accept the result for peace. People rejected election in the past, and it contributed to our ugly past. So Cummings does not want that. Don't you think he's living the words that he said?
He's doing the same thing over and over. You know, somebody is wrong, but let's compromise. You know, for us to make progress, let's just compromise.
Politics is
Exactly my
about
point.
compromising. Politics
No,
is about
But it's
compromising.
not
Don't
about
you think so?
no,
compromising
listen,
wrong. It's
Anthony,
not about compromising wrong.
Hold on, Desmond. I'm with Mr.
You
Cooney. Hold
see,
on.
politics is about compromising, but it's not about compromising fraud. It's not about compromising violence. We can compromise political ideas. We can compromise political philosophies, but we cannot compromise fraud. We can't compromise violence. We can't compromise lack of transparency. These things are not compromises. These things are failure. These things are negative. And no one should really couch them beautifully as some kind of sacrifice they're making. They're not sacrifice.
You classifying it that way to make it low bar. What it is conflict. So he's trying to find in conflict there must be compromises made so that there can be a resolution. But you are nailing this thing as fraud so as to make that Sabbath. I think Cummings is doing the real thing here.
But Asani, this is where the failure lies. I'm saying, even with the withdrawal of one of the candidates, what would have been done, we have been reconvening the primary, bringing the parties together again so that they can have a clean process. But to say, let's go with the result of the writing process and call it compromise and leadership, it doesn't hold.
Thank you. It doesn't hold.
Can I comment on that?
Hold on, Desmond. He said it doesn't hold. That is the voice of the man, Women Wetty Cooney, Chief Political Analyst of Focus on Liberia. Folks, you have been watching Focus on Liberia Special. This is a Political Saturday, and we have been discussing the ANC press statement as well as a statement that came from Alexander Benedict Cummings, Chairman of the CPP. This is Focus on Liberia. I'm Anthony C, hosting along with my partner, Mr. Ja. Mr. Finlay, go for it.
So here's the issue, and Mr. Ja, Mr. Cooney, first I want to tell you, I apologize to you for not coming a long time ago. That's my apology to you. How you as a person can say this was a bloody, fatal, near assassination of somebody's life and say, yes, we accept. What's your moral basis of acceptance? There's no moral basis. Let's forget political basis.
The moral basis might be for peace, for unity.
No, Anthony.
For reconciliation, maybe.
Anthony, yeah. Right? Mm-hmm. That may be that's what you think.
It might be like what happened in South Africa.
Right now,
many people got killed, but they resulted to a Truth and Reconciliation Commission.
Okay, that's your thinking, right? That's a basis that you think. What's your moral basis as a political leader that want to change the economy in the country that we're talking about? To say that everything we'll do the wrong thing or want something new. What's your basis for accepting an assault, brutality, assassination, and a flawed process that you manage? I didn't manage it. Another person didn't manage it. You manage it. And then you turn around and say, for peace sake. Peace sake where?
Mr. Finlay, and let me come in here because it is very difficult in this process to disagree with both Mr. Cooney and Mr. Finlay. And that's why it's very important that we read the first statement. In the first statement, when the ANC reiterated its rejection and objection, one thing that was clear, and Mr. Cummings was part of this letter that was signed by the ANC secretary. And what it said, we say we cannot compromise on our values.
So what's your values?
So it comes to the in less than 24 hours, Mr. Cummings is telling us
compromising on your values.
We renew our condemnation of the violence and the outcome has invalid. We cannot, the election was between incomplete and invalid. The process was divisive, a bloody, divisive theater of violence. And yet, in the same mouth, Mr. Cummings is telling us Yet
We
we will
should accept
compromise
either
this
government where.
because we want to keep the CPP together. This is embarrassing.
What? That's embarrassing.
Yeah, this is
It lacks
beyond
leadership.
embarrassment, especially
It
coming
lacks
within less
leadership.
than 24 hours. What has happened?
And in a scene letter, he condemns. He condemns and tells him what accept.
And it takes me back to the CPP framework because we discussed it here. Number one on the CPP framework was our goal of coming together is to field a single candidate for all elections. Everything else does not matter. So now we come to a point that they want to field a single candidate for Nimba. And because of that, whether or Ta Wangwe was assassinated,
Or
we
not.
let it go.
It will let it go.
Whether the process is fraudulent, is violent, we will let it go. All we want is we want to keep the CPP together because we have one goal here is to defeat the CDC-led government.
Mr. Jarrett, every human being goes through two things in life, right? Right? The end justify the means or the means justify the end. Right now, ANC is telling us, I'm saying CPP, I say ANC. Alexander Beacom is telling us the end justify the means. What I'm telling you here is no. Because the end justify the means, that means we're doing like what the same thing again, get the same result.
So let me end.
After you told me before that we shouldn't do the same to get the same result. Now you come and tell me, say, I'm going to do the end justify the means. No, I want the means to justify the end.
Yeah.
I'm not going to accept that.
It is hard not to accept that he's doing all this. He's throwing everybody under the bus so that at the end, they will feel sorry for him and making him the chairman and making the standard bearer of the CPP. And if you want to know how Christmas will look, why can't you look at the Eve? So I agree with the
amen.
He is going to be naive. But there's a broader picture or something I want to say, which I find a little uncomfortable to say, but I have to say because this is what I believe. Mr. Cummings has not shown me anything that tells me that he indeed worked in corporate America. His decision-making, his recruitment, how he approached things has not demonstrated. Forget about the political part in Liberia, but he has not shown me anything that tells me that he's from corporate.
Mr. John, I'll explain on that. Mr. Cummings, from a result-based orientation in America, where we all work, we based on results, not who you know, but result-based. Mr. Cummings has not exhibited that in Liberia, period, point blank, in politics, period.
Never.
So Mr. Cummings, you telling me, say, what change the framework? The problem all in Liberia is this, right? We understand Liberian politics. We understand what Liberian politics is. We know how we go. It's not result orientation or oriented. It's based on who know you. So you from a place that I look at when I saw Mr. Cummings and I see Cummings, I said Mr. Cummings is gonna be the person that'll be Liberia better, right? Because he's from a result oriented base. How in the hell you're gonna come here and spend this amount of money on election and then fire nobody?
No. And look at from when 2000 election ended, Mr. Cummings lost. He did not win any seat yet. And what I expected Mr. Cummings to do was to congratulate the winner and move on. He joined and went to the Supreme Court as if he were expecting any result. Mr. Cummings, you didn't win any seat, so this is for nothing. And since he made that fatal mistake, Mr. Cummings has continued. What in project management we say escalation of commitment. He continued to throw good money after bad. So he keep with this CPP arrangement that started with their lawsuit to the Supreme Court, and he has never looked back. And
he's never wavered.
Again, he has demonstrated that Mr. Cummings is being pushed, even though he continued to say, well, this is not a sign of weakness, but they show that Mr. Cummings is weak. He's very indecisive. He cannot even take his own decision. And whatever he thinks he's going to get at the end of it is just like a shiny object. He's not going to get it, Mr. Cummings.
Mr. Cummings,
may I come in?
I'm not done with him yet.
Mr. Cummings rushing to come in.
Yeah. Mr. Cummings, it took him how many years?
I'm coming from a whole different angle.
Yeah. It took Mr. Cummings how many years for us to even believe that he's when they asked him about war crime code, he said, well, I can't make the decision, let the president. Mr. Cummings has not told us anything. Okay? He refused to endorse anybody in the 2017 runoff.
It's
Mr.
cowardice.
Cummings refused to tell us whether he support war crime code until very late.
Cowardice.
He continued to do these things, so it doesn't, even the way he recruits the people we see around, there is nobody in the ANC that I would say,
And
well,
just to
Mr.
add,
Cummings, if you enter a corporate office, because I'm looking at it from that corporate standpoint, I want to see who are the people in the ANC that Mr. Cummings can go face to face and say, well, this is what we are doing. Okay, what you say, what you say, what you say.
Mr. Ja.
He only has followers, people that look at him as some demigod. How does Mr. Cummings recruit the people that are in the ANC?
Mr. Ja.
People in corporate America are result driven, has Mr. So if it costs him to even hire some people from Eastern Europe to do his data analytics, that's what I expect Mr. Cummings to be doing as a corporate guy. But instead,
Mr. Ja.
he got these people on social media.
That's my hold on.
Mr. Cummings has people on social media making noise. There is no activity, actual activity on the ground. And he really thinks that he has a political party. I will agree with you again, Desmond, that his ANC base is in America, people that aren't going to vote. And that's why he's dependent on to throw everybody under the bus, thinking that at the end, people in the CPP going to subordinate the interests of Bouakai to him. That's not going to happen. Mr. Benana Ure was accused of the mastermind behind the violence that took place in Nimba. Well, Benana Ure knows the game. There was nothing in the CPP framework or in the primary election law that forbids anyone for not replacing their delegates. The process may be some kind of way, but he played by the rules. So if people play by the rules in the process that you affix your signature to, you got to accept it or be quiet.
And speaking of leadership, Mr. Cummings has not taken a position on the various very important propositions that are coming in this election. What is leadership? I mean, is he doing a poll to determine? I mean, these are serious constitutional issues coming on the ballot. Where is the CPP position? Where is the ANC position? You talking about leadership? This is where you show leadership.
Thank you. This is what I think. And I have some agreement here. And myself, I've had my own share of criticism for the ANC as a political party and also Mr. Cummings. I don't know who are the people Mr. Cummings continue to hire, or let me say the ANC continue to hire, because we have counties, and these counties have their best sons and daughters. I would like to see a political party that is going out to recruit the best sons and daughters, maybe 2 or 3 or 4 of each county, and entrusting them with leadership. But you must do so after you have done your groundwork to see how these people stand within that county. What is their relationship with their people? How are they viewed? They talk about VPS. They're where they're supposed to use the VPS. Conduct a VPS of the prominent citizens of the counties. If you want to win this thing, you have to do the work. Daniel was talking about analytics the other time, a short while ago. That is good. Use our VPS. Let me see the prominent sons of all the 15 counties that are well connected, that have good reputation in their county. Let's see how we can go after them and encourage them to join the ANC and make the ANC strong. Because the politics in Liberia, unfortunately, is based on individuals. That is the fact. Prince Johnson continued to win Nimba country because of who the Nimba people know him to be. Individuality. The same can be said about Joshua. He was the powerful, iconic individual who the youth saw in themselves. And that is why they went for him. So if Mr. Cummings wants to be relevant, if he wants a political party to be able to do well, so that he can be able to deliver to Liberia what he sees or he wants to deliver for Liberia, it has to be done through individuals who have better standing with their people in the county. I don't see any other way other than that. But to say that this CPP arrangement, he's going to sacrifice one person over the other here and there, and at the end of the day, there are no guarantees in politics. No, there are no guarantees. They felt that they had everything going for them in Nimba County. What happened? Like Dennis just said, Benina Ure came and double played them at the 11th hour and everything ended in chaos. And now here is Mr. Elizana coming saying or asking Ty Woman to back up so that somebody from the LP to take over in the interest of what? Peace or in the name of peace? How long is he going to continue doing this? And so the bigger question for our guests, our analysts here, and that is my question. What is your sincere and honest advice to the ANC and Mr. Cummings? Pull out now at the 11th hour? And would they not be making enemies? If they should pull out right now, would they not be making enemies? Maybe enemies that they may need in the long run?
Mr. C, before analysts come in, Jimmy Eastman is part of us here. Jimmy is on my line. He's so Jimmy, please briefly, we have to go against protocols here to get you in. So briefly, your point.
Yes, you can. How well can you hear me?
Go ahead. You are clear.
Okay. Mr. Cooney, as usual, sound logic. Hey, Brother Finley, good to hear your points, and always, Mr. Sia. But here's my thing. It is very clear that Mr. Cummings is not embedded in the politics of Liberia. He should have known what was amiss before it happened. You can clearly see you knew what was going to happen, and he made a move. You cannot be in America and talk about you running a campaign in Liberia. You have to be part of every gossip, of every conversation regarding all candidates. You have to know what is going on. And it's apparent that he is he's missing, absent in the day-to-day politics of what's happening there. So he will be abused and misused because he's not aware of what is going on. Okay, it's different. It's not corporate America where we float information up to the executives. This is a process that you have to be down on the floor with everybody and finding out the information, knowing what's going to happen before it happens. That is how you're going to win such a contemporary election. That's my point.
Thank you, Jimmy.
So Anthony, I got a question. I mean, let me say two things, right?
Yeah, but gentlemen, we have to close. I want you guys to close with that. We've been here for so long.
I'm gonna close right now. My dad was an attorney, right?
Right.
He was a lawyer in Liberia. Semi-successful, one I think successful in my opinion, but in my past, so I won't be biased. My dad told me one thing. As a lawyer, you do not ask a client on the stand a question that you do not know the answer to. So as a lawyer, when you ask a question to a client, you don't want to be surprised. The answer that you ask, the question you're asking, you ought to be answering your hand. So to your question, why Mr. Cummings need to do in my mind is quit politics. Open a bank. He's an accountant. Open a bank, invest $1 million, and be a serial banker, entrepreneur, and provide jobs. Because as long as you think your base, like Jimmy Eastman just said, your base is in America, you're not winning election in Africa. Tip O'Neill, he was Speaker of the House representing America for Boston. You know what he said? All politics is local. All politics is local. It's not national, it's local. How in the hell a party runs, I'm about to ANC right now, how you run a party with chapter chairman here in America, chapter chairman here, executive person here, another, and all the people want to spend 2 months in Liberia. But you'll be president of Liberia. How? On what planet? CDC prays for the day. They pray for the day that Alexander B. Cummings is the stand-up bearer against George Weah. CDC can beg for it. Why Miguel will even get a nerve to come on TV or make a statement and say he wants to debate Alexander Cummings? Why? You know why? Because Alexander Cummings is a weakling. He's the weakest link.
Cummings turned that debate down as something for which I went after him. That was a serious mistake on his part.
Alexander B. Cummings is the weakest political link in the Republic of Liberia because he bases in America, he's based not in Liberia. I'm not saying that because he's a bad politician. I'm saying that because he has to reallocate his bases and his resources. After the election in 2017, as Cummings had a conference. You know what the conference was? No. In Maryland.
Yeah.
Maryland, America. Not Maryland, Liberia.
The biggest party affiliate parties of Jamboree was in Texas.
Amen. Why? And every time I saw that, my body held. Every time I saw that, I said, the man has so much potential to bring to this country. And every time you have one event, it diminishes his potential to deliver for our country. So Alexander Cummings right now is robbing Liberia. He's robbing us of things that we need.
All right.
Please
leave my man Ellis Cummings alone a little bit. He got some latches tonight. I hope that he and his party will be able to take these critical views that we have expressed that are intended for their political survivability in good faith, and that they will take kindly to them and readjust, recalibrate, and the people will always see so they can change the trajectory of their political path. Mr. Cooney, we have to leave it there. Chief Political Analyst, what do you have to close us with?
Well, quickly, you'd be surprised. Today, my closing is not long. I'm going to close on 3 points.
Oh, because you've been drinking Kool-Aid today. That's why I didn't give you no bitter ball.
I'm going to close on 3 points.
Yeah.
Look, listen, I truly believe that Alexander Cummings is a very decent Liberian. I believe that he loves Liberia, and I think he wants to do his best for Liberia. But I think he has been making a serious political miscalculation when it comes to Liberian politics. So if you will ask me for my advice for the ANC, not that I involve anything to them, I truly believe that if Mr. Cummings can really get down to the business of party work and build the ANC as an institution, as an entity all by itself, I think he stands a better chance in Liberian politics. His effort in the CPP, I want to believe, is a waste of the ANC's time and resources. And I think those are resources that the ANC needs to strengthen itself in its political activities in Liberia. That's my advice. That's my point number one. Point number two, there is no way that we can substitute fraud and violence and other things and substitute them for sacrifice. Those things are now, they're not the kind of values that constitute sacrifice. So the ANC or Mr. Cummings should spare us that kind of deceptive behavior of cashing those things and sacrifice. They're not sacrifice. As I indicated, those are all in his calculation. He's making down payment for what he thinks would be awarded to him at the end of this, the grand price of a standard bearership. So it looks like he doesn't care how many people you throw under the bus to reach that point. And I find it selfish indeed. It's not leadership. And so the third point I made, based on, just to validate what you said, or maybe, well, but to validate some of the argument that I make here, politics is about choices. The people look at the ruling party, they look at the opposition, they want to make a choice. Against the background of all of these things we're talking, we should not forget that the CDC, the Coalition for Democratic Change, they conducted a flawless primary season within the Republic of Liberia. They conducted that with their partisans. The process was flawless. The process produced candidates in accordance with CDC rules. Yeah, flawless. There was no violence. Okay. There was no drama. So the Liberian people are watching the two institutions because the people will have to make their, You look at the coalition that has conducted its primary in a very flawless manner, and we look at the opposition that is very chaotic and confused. And Liberian people are watching all of these developments. And I think in time to come, the Liberian people will make their decision. They will make their decision. So I think the opposition cannot continue to bash the government for all of these issues that we talk about. Like I said, when they cannot even clean 180 people primary, they don't have the credibility.
You said you were going to be brief.
You said their closing were going to be short.
But at 3 points I made, okay.
Now you go into the CDC and their flawless process. I don't know where you get that from.
I don't know where you get that from.
This is the OTWP star, where the president, this is the OTWP star, where the president will raise the hand of somebody and that person is anointed as the standard bearer. So
that is not
lecture
so.
me about this flawless primary.
We saw a competitive primary in
No, we're not taking that flawless thing.
CDC conducted a flawless
they're complaining about the process in Monserrato. But let leave it there. You make your point. Dennis, what you got?
Well, we want to say thank you so much for the time. We continue to say here that we will say as it is to the best of our ability. What came out of the CPP/ANC is embarrassing, contradict each other within less than 24 hours. It's like the same person writing two different statements that contradict. I don't know what meeting was held before that time. But again, this also speaks to the broader picture of politics in Liberia, where we don't have institutions, we have individuals. And so people gravitate towards the people with the deepest pocket or more popularity. We don't really evaluate. And always, Liberians, what I urge Liberians to do is let's look among ourselves. Let's be the one to create candidates. We shouldn't always allow candidates to come to us and say, pick me. We should look within ourselves and see what our values are. What are those things that we need as a people? What is it that we want from our country? And if we have a list, we look on our list and see who satisfies our criteria, and that's the person we should go behind. We shouldn't always wait for politicians to come to us with either money or sweet words, and then we are forced to fall in line because that's the alternative. Every election, we are always forced to choose between the lesser of two evils. Enough with that. Let us find our own values and see who fit that particular criteria, and we can vote for that person. If you look among all of us here now and you think, oh, Mr. Asuni is here, you don't have the Asuni to defeat us, then we can begin to prepare Asuni for the bigger prize. But anytime people come before and sell their platform, we are always willing to fall behind. Tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern, we're going to be here on Focus on Liberia with agriculture in Liberia. We have a 3-part series on agriculture in Liberia, and our guest is Dr. Wally Pay. Dr. Pay will be here. He has his PhD in soil science and soil fertility. He's going to be here, so we're going to be discussing agriculture in Liberia. And every president, every administration talk about agriculture. We want to see what agriculture is, what the impact has been on the economy. What is it that we have now when we say agriculture? What is it that we need? Or what's the overview? We look at the climate and the impact of the climate on agriculture. We'll look at the overview of agriculture. We'll look at the challenges, and then we have question and answer. So we understand exactly when we say agriculture, what is it that we're talking about here? Do we have a very good soil that can produce the rice we talk about or not? We're going to find that out. So join us tomorrow at 6 p.m. We're going to be discussing agriculture in Liberia. Again, thanks so much for watching. For those who ask questions, those who give comments, and those who are watching, and even those who will watch later on, we want to say thank you so much. Continue to support us here at Focus on Liberia, where we do all we can to educate, to elevate, and promote all things Liberia. Back to you, Asani, for closing.
Thank you, Mr. Jai. Thanks so very much to our wonderful audience and viewers for always being here to follow our show. This is the only platform where you will come and get responsible dissemination of information. But this is what I have for you. My grandfather told me, humble yourself. And I remember that song, humble yourself before the Lord, and he will lift you up. Dennett knows that song. Mr. Cummings might have forgotten that song, but I remember that song. Humble yourself before the Lord, and he will lift you up. And so to the folks in ANC, I say to you, humble thyself. To Mr. Cummings, my friend, I say to you, humble thyself. You walk as a humble man. When I see your spirit, I see humility. But when I see your followers, I don't see that. It contradicts everything about you. If they really want to follow you, they must display that humility that is in your personality. I don't want to continue seeking that son for you. Humble yourself. And so, of all of the things that we say here, if only the ANC people can humble themselves, then the Lord will lift them up. That is the law of political gravity. Will lift them up. Humble thyself, folks in the ANC. Enough of the arrogance. I know you guys are going to come after me. You know, my skin is like rock. I don't move. Humble yourself politically. Go into the trenches. Meet the people. The Facebook post don't do anything in Liberia. How many persons you think reading your post or listening to your podcast? Humble thyself. Take kindly to the pieces of advice that people are giving you. It is for your own good, so that you will not labor in vain. And so the song said, humble thyself before the Lord, so that he will lift you up. We all want to be lifted politically, economically, any kind of way. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf will say, I want to be lifted spiritually. Well, I have to leave it there and not bore you with my monologue. The song says, we are all Liberians. Enjoy that song and thank you later on. Bye-bye, folks.
Good night.
We are Liberians.